So what happens if the demand for something starts exceeding the available supply? Is, of course, you get backlogs. And that's a thing that especially the public sector, we are terrified about. Is what if the demand on, for example, the health services exceeds the available supply? Well, queues will build up. What will control the queues? People start dying before they can get treatment. So when you see these two lines crossing, right? So if the demand is exceeding the supply, you have a problem. And we start seeing it all over the place. Higher unemployment, poverty, delays in the justice system, health system backlogs, education and skill shortages, congestion in the ports, road and rail, growing solid waste dumps in especially the developing countries, housing shortages even in developed countries, the UK, Australia, US. In certain areas there are massive affordable housing shortages, water and food shortages. So in many important areas, demand is growing faster than supply. And you can ask yourself the question, why have we allowed this to happen? And is it possible to create the surplus capacity we need to catch up? It turns out that prosperity doesn't come from growth. Prosperity comes from surplus. You can grow an economy without growing surplus. And as a result, not improve the quality of life at all, just making people work harder to pay off the debt. So there's a great quote by one of my heroes, Professor Albert Bartlett. He tried to explain why this is the case. Why do we allow these things to happen? And he said the greatest shortcoming of the human race is our inability to understand the exponential function. Because when you look at the exponential function, initially it looks like it's linear, right? So this could be, for example, the queue that grows in front of an agency that do not have sufficient capacity to cope with the demand. As it's moving towards full capacity, initially the queue is very small. And for a long time it stays quite small until it hits this sort of 80% number, and then it speeds up dramatically towards the top. And of course, it will continue to grow until it hits some kind of limiting factor, and then it slows down and it becomes sigmoidal. So initially we start off with leaders looking at the queues and going, we have more than enough and enough time. No need to worry. And then, help, we don't have enough and don't have enough time. And then it's too late. You've wasted all the time that you had to take some action. So I want to give you a simple example, but just to illustrate how quickly this can catch you off guard. So imagine you're a lonely bacteria in a bottle. This is the finite resource, it's the size of the bottle. This specific strain of bacteria doubles every minute through cell division. So here's our bottle, here's our initial lonely bacteria, but very quickly it gets a lot of friends. So every single minute, it is doubling in the number of bacteria in the bottle. And you can see what happens on the side there of what happens after X amount of doubling times. So after the first one, there was 1, then 2, then 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 132, 256. After 60 minutes, you have 2 to the power of 59 bacteria, or 576 quadrillion very tightly squashed neighbors in this bottle after only 60 doubling cycles. So a few simple questions. At what time from 0 to 60 do you still have 75% of the space in the bottle left? Now it's almost impossible to predict that unless you go backwards and you say, well, if we double every minute, then minute 59 we've got half the space left. Does it make sense? We still have half the space left at minute 59. So you can imagine the guys are going, starting to get a little bit cramped in here, but we have plenty of time. Took us 59 minutes to get here. Still 50% space. Looks like the growth is linear, so we've got at least another 59 minutes before we should start panicking. Of course, at minute 58, you still have 75% of the space left. The question is, at what time will you start making the alarm that we're running out of this scarce resource? What do you think? Probably very close to 60. What do you think people will think of you when you start screaming, guys, we've got a problem, any time before that? And then, of course, sometimes we're lucky and we've got a great visionary leader that starts realizing we've got a problem, and they send out this team of guys to go and look for more bottles. And they come back just in the brink of time. And I go, guys, we saved. We found 3 more bottles. And everybody goes, unbelievable. You know, this is just, you know, our guys always do it for us, you know. Well, how much time will 3 bottles give you? Right? Another 2 minutes, right? That's it. So the question is, what time is it for humanity in the consumption of some of our scarcest and finite resources? And you can also ask, well, we have known this for a long time, right? The Limits to Growth was published in 1976, I believe. And what they were predicting was what's going to be happening with all these key things. What will happen to population, to food, to industrial output, and when does it start collapsing, and what is the sensitivity in the regions? And what will happen to life expectancy? And you can see life expectancy wonderfully going up until you hit that limiting factor, and then it starts coming down. This has been known for quite a long time, and yet it seems as if governments are not paying attention